Welcome to another edition of the Claw's Corner of the Zoom edition. Today's guest is drummer extraordinaire Bobby T Torello. His bands include David and the Giants, Paper Steamboat, Thunderhead, Johnny Winter, Black Oak, Arkansas, and Michael Bolton, just to name a few. Some of the artists he has shared the stage with include Aerosmith, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Molly Hatchet, Ted Nugent, ZZ Top, Bob Seger, Cyndi Lauper, ELO, George Thorogood, Robert Palmer, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and 38 Special. Johnny Winter raves, Bobby Torello is a great drummer. He played a drum solo one night, hitting the floor, the mic stand, and everything else he could find. It was really flashy, and everyone loved it. Michael Bolton says about Bobby Torello was my first choice go-to touring drummer. He could steal a show with a 2-minute drum solo. Bobby is a beloved musician who has played with an amazing array of internationally known artists. He has tons of talent, and besides that, he's a big-hearted and hilarious guy to hang out with. He rocks hard and steady. Bobby T is no less than awesome. And Classic Drummer magazine states, Bobby T is one of music's greatest drummers. Please welcome to the show the extremely talented Bobby T Torello.
Hey, good afternoon.
I think I almost lost my breath doing your intro. You've done so much.
There's a lot more, but that's enough for now, you know?
Yeah. Well, there has to be a part two.
All right, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our friends Lucinda Rowe and Mick Connolly for setting up this interview with me and you. I really do appreciate that, because I know you work with them, or you friends with them, and they told me about you. I'm very glad they did that.
Shout out to them, absolutely. They're great people.
Yep, Red Room Sound Studio in Torrington, Connecticut.
I recorded there recently
with
them. Yeah, I did a song with them, and I'm still waiting to hear it, Lucinda. Okay.
Hint. You know what? After going through your resume, and as you said, it's only a partial resume, what impresses me the most about you is that you are completely self-taught. So how did you get your start? Banging on pots and pans as a child?
No, actually, what happened was my parents, we rented a snare drum because I was going to take lessons in school. Well, the first lesson, before it even started, they used to have these windows where you had the handle and you close the window up like this, you shut it. Well, I kicked it with my foot to shut it. Teacher saw me do it, said, "Get out of my class, you'll never be a drummer." That just pushed me a little bit harder to learn on my own. And a year later, I was actually on the road. 3 years later, I was, wearing tailor-made suits, and I'd go by that teacher and say, "See the suit? Got it playing drums." So tell me I can't do something. But everything else, everything I tried to do before playing drums and playing music, it didn't work out. But when I started playing, it worked out right away.
There's a phrase that I love, and you proved it exactly. So it says, "Success is the best revenge." So you proved that, people said, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that." Come back, hey, look at me now. So
it does feel sweet, I got to tell you.
Well, you grew up in my home state of Connecticut. So were you a big part of the local scene growing up?
I was a big part of the local scene around New Haven, the Hartford area. Not much, a little bit New York, not a lot. We did some recording in New York, a lot Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all New England type, touring that area. Then I left, like it says, David and the Giants. I left when I was 21 years old, and I moved to Mississippi.
That's a perfect segue, because that's what I wanted to talk about next. In 1972, you moved to Laurel, Mississippi, like you just mentioned. What was the deciding factor in making that move?
Number one, my goal when I was 19 years old was to play with Johnny Winter. And I had heard that Johnny Winter was in the Nut House in New Orleans back when I was like 20 or 21. I had heard about it because whenever I first heard Johnny Winter, I said, someday I'm going to play with this guy. This is what I have to do. It's destiny. Anyway, so I heard he was in the hospital down there, and this band that lived in Mississippi flew me to New Orleans, and they also offered me a lot more money than I was making up here. So I said, well, this might be a way for me to actually meet Johnny Winter. And in the meantime, the band, David and the Giants, was a phenomenal band. I mean, they were like, the kind of music they were doing for me was not my favorite. I was more of a blues, kind of a rock type guy. Allman Brothers at the time, I thought was blues music, which Johnny taught me that that's not blues. But at any rate, they played music like Yes and King Crimson and Moody Blues, a lot of English oriented. We had a Mellotron and all that. And the band was a phenomenal band. And then they went on to do like they turned into a gospel band, which is basically what they were before. But anyhow, they were a great band. But then I found these people that had jammed with Johnny Winter. And I said, oh, wow, these people jammed with. Well, they happened to be playing the same type of music that I really enjoyed. Allman Brothers, Southern type rock stuff. And so they had this band, this Paper Steamboat. They were like the local act, 4 or 5 statewide. And they were like, I'm not going to say competition, but they were right up there with David and the Giants as far as touring and making money back in the day back there. But they played, like I said, they were playing kind of music I liked. Well, we got together and jammed, sent the tapes to Johnny Winter, because he used to come out of, when he'd get on weekends, he'd come out of the mental institution. I don't want to say the nut house. I already said that, but that's all right. Anyway, back then, if you had an addiction, there were no rehabs. You went into a mental institution to get clean. And that's where he was, at this place called River Oaks. Anyhow, he'd get out on the weekends and he'd jam with them. Anyhow, make a long story short, we sent tapes of me playing with them. He said, you get that drummer and maybe another guitar player, and I will produce the band. So I left David and the Giants, and we put the band, which was known as Thunderhead, together. And he came and produced the album at the studio in the country in Bogalusa, Louisiana. We were together for 4 months, and we were opening up for Johnny Winter at major coliseums throughout the Southeast.
Right. Well, you covered a lot in about 30 seconds. So I want to go back a little bit. We're going to get into Paper Steamboat and also Thunderhead. But I want to go back to David and the Giants, because you replaced a drummer. His name was Keith Thibodeaux, and maybe some people might not know who he is, but they probably know his television name, Little Ricky from I Love Lucy.
Unbelievable drummer, and what a great person. And he is back with David and the Giants, and they are still together. They made like 17 religious rock albums, it's really good stuff too, and they're still doing it. And I was in Nashville over the summer, and I got in touch with David again, and I'm still friends with all those people, which is a fantastic thing. And Keith is back playing drums with them, who is a great drummer and great people.
Wow, that's great. So he retired from television and became a drummer, obviously.
Yeah, well, he was a drummer before that, and then he got into television. He was also on some of the things with Opie on Andy Griffith's show. He did a few things out in Hollywood, and I guess I don't know how that panned out or whatever, but he went back to, I think he was from Lafayette, Louisiana, but now he's been for the past maybe, 20, 25 years back with David and the Giants.
Wow, that's very impressive. I'm glad he's still out there playing drums and doing what he loves, just like you are. Now, we talked about Paper Steamboat, and we talked about Thunderhead. Johnny Winter said, you know what? I love what you're doing. I want you to record your first album, and I want to produce it. And that caught the attention of ABC Records. So tell me what went wrong.
Oh, okay. What it caught the attention of was our manager at the time, which was Bill Evans, who owned the studio in the country in Bogalusa, Louisiana. Was a $1 million Westlake Audio studio that he owned. He was 21 years old. It was daddy's boy that gave him the money, and that's what he did with it. And we signed to a production deal with Barn Door Productions, and we auditioned for every major group. Johnny did the whole album with us for free. He just wanted to help us out. Well, anyhow, we sent the tapes back at that time to all these companies, and they had all these labels come out and see us play in New Orleans. Finally, ABC Records says, okay, we're going to give them a deal. So they signed us to a deal, but in order for us to do the record, we had to eliminate Johnny and put in their producer. Typical music business, stabbed me, and my back still has scars. But they said, well, this is the only way you're going to get the deal. And in the meantime, here's Johnny Winter getting us doing all this for free. It's a horrible business. But anyhow, so we did the deal. We got the album. They didn't coordinate a tour with the release of the album. We were supposed to tour with Fleetwood Mac. They came to hear us. They said, you're way too heavy to tour with us. So they bounced us around. We were with the Paragon agency at the time. We'd go from Lakeland, Florida, to Lansing, Michigan, to Atlanta, Georgia, to Louisville, Kentucky, and all this in 1 week. That's what they sending us all over. So for a year, this went on. And then finally at the end of the year, which there was a clause in our contract that if the year's not up and you're not, we didn't meet these money amounts, that the contract could be null and void. So on New Year's Eve, when they all came into the dressing room after we opened up for, I think it was Wet Willie at the time, at the St. Bernard Civic Auditorium in New Orleans, I fired everybody. They were coming to the dressing room and they said, oh, hey, great show. I said, get out, you're fired. And the band was looking at me like I'm crazy. And I just said, you're fired. And they weren't, hey, Bobby, what do you mean? I started throwing folding chairs at them. Yeah, I got a little upset. But, they like ripping our lives apart. They don't, they don't care. They're riding in limousines and I'm in a K car. It's just
exactly.
the music business, So finally, I said, I'll move everybody up to my mother's house. We took 14 of us because we had, wives and girlfriends and everything. They all moved up. Of course, I got an apartment. I let them stay at my parents' house in a trailer in the yard. And we tried to make it around the New York area. And we tried for about 8 months and it just wasn't happening. There were, clubs were saying, well, you got to learn cover tunes. And that wasn't why we started the band. We started the band to play our music, how we wanted, as loud and what we wanted, and it wasn't happening. So I had to leave the band. I left the band. I immediately was in Michael Bolton's band. He was Michael Bolton back then. He had two albums out on RCA. I played with him for like 2 weeks, and Black Oak, Arkansas called, and they wanted me to join the band, which I had opened for them with David and the Giants, ironically. So they had already seen me play. I didn't have to audition. They flew me down to Memphis. Then we took their private plane up to Mountain Home, and I started practicing with Black Oak, Arkansas.
Speaking of them, I don't want to cut you off, but speaking of them, you replaced Tommy Aldridge in that band, who went on to play with Gary Moore, Whitesnake, Ozzy, Pat Travers.
Everybody went on to play with. Gary's a phenomenon. Yes, there were big shoes to fill, but fortunately, I was able to fill them. And yeah, I hung out with Tommy a little bit when we were up in Arkansas before he left, and he didn't say, well, the problem is you're not going to get any money in this band, but I kind of sufficed it. But in the meantime, Johnny Winter was helping me, mentoring me as far as what I did with my career. He said, go on, see what they'll do. See if they'll give you 50 grand up front like I will to play with me. He said, if they'll do that, then maybe you should try. And so after touring with them for 6 months, I said to them, well, here's the deal. I took the contract back to New York. Johnny let me use his lawyer to look at all this stuff. He about lost his mind. He said, this is a ridiculous contract. So I went back to Arkansas. I said, I can't do it. I got to leave the band. And we were supposed to, this was on a Saturday. That Monday, we were supposed to be a recording for Capricorn Records. So they actually threw me out of Arkansas. We don't want to hear his name. Get him out of here. Get him a plane ticket. So I left Arkansas, but I left on a Sunday. Monday night, I was rehearsing with Johnny Winter. Yeah,
I like the fact that you always fall right back on your feet. No matter how many times you get knocked down, you keep getting back up.
You have to, otherwise you'll be in the gutter somewhere, Now,
Johnny Winter seems like a great guy. You know what's so amazing about everything you're telling me is that when you first started out, you're like, I want to work with Johnny Winter, and look everything he's done for you. It's amazing that
he was the only. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if you have that positive thinking and you're like, I'm gonna do this, and you have that in your head, you can make it happen. It looks like you went straight ahead with nobody stopping you and nothing stopping you.
Nothing did for a while. Then I left Johnny Winter to do the Great Slick album, Welcome to the Wrecking Ball, her last rock album. Okay, so I leave Johnny. I said, Johnny, this, you always told me if I could, do better, that you can always do well because people come to see Johnny Winter. They don't care what band he has. And he's right about that. He was right about it. And so I had the offer to go with Great Slick, which was way more money and an opportunity to play bigger, places because Johnny was scaling down, doing just blues and clubs. And I wanted to go do the Coliseum thing, Coliseum rock. Yeah. But so I quit, and I spent every penny I had, and we were supposed to tour, or we were supposed to start in Europe, we were going to be in Rome for 10 days rehearsing starting January 10th. Well, by December 24th, right before Christmas, they called up and said, it's done. They're putting Great Slick back in the Starship to promote both albums. So now here I am, boom, I'm living in Manhattan. Now I have no money coming in. So I lived on my savings as long as I could. Johnny took me back in the band after a year. So I played with Johnny for another 2 years. Michael Bolton video. I do the Michael Bolton video Fool's Game. His thing starts to take off. They offer me a job with them. They're going to be doing the world tour with Bob Seger. I said to Johnny, I'm going to take a shot again. He goes, no problem, go ahead. So I quit Johnny again. I go out with Michael Bolton. We do a year and a half, and the record company tells him, you're no rocker. You got to do love ballads.
Oh my
All right.
God.
Yeah, so there the rug gets pulled out from me again. So then I bounced around. I started a band with Craig McGregor from Foghat.
Well, let's stop for a second. I want to stop there for a second because what did Michael Bolton think about this? Did Michael Bolton want to play more rock and he was forced into playing
No,
pop?
he wanted to play rock, but he was forced to do what he had to do. And of course, he went on to make millions. And Michael Bolton didn't care about anybody in his band. I mean, he was nice to me, believe me, but Michael Bolton had blinders on. It was Michael Bolton, and that's what it's going to be, no matter who plays in, which is, it's a good way to be because this business is not easy.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he saw looked like what you're telling me is that his name was in the marquee and everybody else was replaceable. That's how he looked at it.
That's exactly how a lot of people look at it. I mean, if you look at a lot of people, I mean, the Ozzy, I auditioned for Ozzy too. I mean, he was, if you talk to Jakey Lee about Ozzy, you'll see what they're about. But, it's just the way it is. I mean, if you find somebody who's loyal and actually honest to you in the music business, you should stay with them, which was Johnny, was honest and loyal. But he always told me, I know you're not happy playing the blues, all the time. If you want to move on and try and do better, go ahead. And so I did. And then he actually took me back once. And I tried to go back a third time. And he said, Bobby, come on, you're only going to do this again. And I said, yeah, I guess I probably will. I said, but I wanted to get my job back, because I wasn't working. And then I bounced around. Like I said, I was living in Long Island with Craig McGregor. We had a band called Nosmo King with two guys from Chicago, lead singer and a guitar player. And that we worked that for 6 months. We auditioned for a bunch of record companies. It didn't happen. And that another one that defunct. And so I moved up to Chicago. I played with a band called Holland. And that didn't happen. Then I played with a band called the Griff Band. And I was bouncing around trying to find places to live. And money got really, really tight. So I finally came back, and there I find myself back living on my mother's couch for a while and trying to do the best I can. And then from then on, I would hustle. I was 2 years in, and like I said, 2 years in Chicago. Then I did a 2-year stint in Nashville, back when Nashville was just starting to happen with kind of, actually the country music was Southern rock with a twang. And I tried to do that, but it was before they had the heavy hitters. And they told me, oh, there's no need for muscle drummers in Nashville. Now that's all there is, but I was a little ahead of my game there. And then I just started writing my own songs. I said, you know what, I got to do this on my own. And I have my own band, and that's.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because Robin Zander from Cheap Trick helped you and encouraged you to do that.
Oh, yes.
Before we get into that, because
all right.
Besides Lucinda and Mick, the music business is very small, and we have a couple connections. And in 2009, you reformed Thunderhead along with Mick Jagger and brand new members. And your guitar player, Jeremy Barrett, is a friend of mine and former guitarist in my brother's band. So how did the two of you meet?
Okay, here's what happened. When we wanted to start Thunderhead again, Chris Bickley was the driving force in that. He said, "Why don't we put the band back?" I said, anyhow, Mike Jagger and I talked about putting the band back together. We tried to get the original guys, and they just couldn't cut it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to get involved. So Jagger and I said, "Well, we'll try some new guys." And this guy Chris Bickley, who I worked with in the studio here in New Haven at the Horizon Recording, which is where, thank God for that place, because I pretty much make my living there now. I'm like on the A team, and I do a lot of the tracks that come through there. Keeps the money coming in. But Chris said, I'll find another guitar player, and the other guitar player was Jeremy, and he fit in perfectly. I mean, what a great person and a great player. I mean, you know him, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so beautiful people. And then I had a bass player, a friend of mine that I was working with, that I played with John Paris and me on the road a little bit, Eric Klatstad, and he worked out for a little while. And then I got a friend of mine, he didn't want to go on the road. And we tried to get it off the ground, but Thunderhead never had a hit record. So it was very, very hard to get it rolling again. And that lasted about 2 years. We did another album, and that didn't work out. Yeah. But Robin, when I was in Chicago.
Which was 1985.
1985, I was living in Chicago. And Robin and I said to me, you got to write some songs. What you need to do is, we became friends. I forget exactly how exactly it happened. Anyhow, I was staying in Rockford, Illinois. And Robin would pick me up in the morning, and we go out to Bunny Carlos's studio, and we work on songs. And Robin would play on my tracks. And I had a couple of songs. I had this song, "You're a Rotten Person." He wanted me to send it. You deserve desertion. I've had a lot of women problems. Anyway, yeah. And he said, you should get this song to Dr. Hook. He said, you know, you gotta keep writing. That's what you gotta do. So I've written a bunch of songs, and I've got, you know, my own CD, which I'm ready to put out another CD also. And in the meantime, I've been playing with a lot of different people. And now one of the newest people I'm playing with is the Name Droppers, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Charlie Karp. He used to be in the Dirty Angels.
No.
He's the guy that played guitar on Them Changes for Buddy Miles.
Okay.
He was at 17 years old. Then he had his own band called the Dirty Angels. Well, Charlie had this band called Charlie Karp and the Name Droppers. And as I was doing the studio a couple of years back, 3 years ago, and in Horizon, they said, why don't you have Bobby play with you? So I started playing with Charlie, and a year later, he died of cancer. They didn't even know he had this big tumor inside him, and he died. So his partner at the time, Rafe Klein, kept the band going. And we've got Johnny Winter's old bass player, Scott Spray, is playing with us, and Ron Rifkin on keyboards, and Rafe Klein is playing guitar and singing. And we've taken that. We've got 2 albums out with that band. So I mean, yeah. Anyway,
there's no stopping you.
No, you gotta keep rolling. Plus, I'm writing my own songs. I'm also working with another guy, Ryan Newman, who's like 22-year-old guitar player, monster, like a Stevie Ray Vaughan meets Jimi Hendrix. And I did his whole album, which will be coming out soon, I hope. And when we did it 2 years ago, but it's not out yet. So these are the projects I'm working on.
Well, it's great that it seems like you worked with so many people, and the most important thing is it didn't seem like you burned any bridges. So, you know, Johnny Winter allowed you back a couple times. You played with Michael Bolton several times. And so it seems like, which is good, that, you know, some people, when they're out of a band, they get mad, they'll start trashing people, and then they'll be blacklisted from being in the bands. But the good thing is that you're able to meet all these people. You have a great rapport with them. And then, you know, Robin Zander, Michael Bolton, Tommy Aldridge. I
believe in doing to others, you know, as they would do to you, and that's how I feel, and it's been great for me, you know. That's the way I look at life. You know, I wouldn't want it done to me, I wouldn't do it to you.
Yeah. So when Robin Zander of Cheap Trick encouraged you to write your own music, that's when you formed the Bobby T band.
Yes.
So with that band, did you recruit old friends to jam?
I didn't. I used some different people at first. I used people that were around. I had 2 different Bobby T bands, and recently I have the 3rd Bobby T's All Stars, which has got Ryan Newman playing guitar and Scott Spray from the Johnny Winter band on bass. That's a power trio, and that was working out pretty good till the COVID hit us, the damn virus, you know. But we'll rekindle it. And Ryan's got, like I said, he's got his album coming out. And yeah, I played with Black Oak twice after they realized their manager was a scab, to put it lightly. They were back on the road. I went to see them when I wasn't working, and that was right before I went to Chicago, 84, 85. I went back with Black Oak for another year. What was it? It was kind of freaky. I mean, we were checking out of a hotel one time at 6 in the morning, and I go, "Be quiet, Bobby." I go, "What are we doing? We're leaving. We're not paying the bill." He goes, "Bobby, you're a pirate now." I said, "Jim, I'm not a pirate. I love you, man, but I can't be a pirate." Anyhow, so after a couple months of that crazy stuff, I mean, in their defense, it was tough. You know, they got really screwed. That poor guy. He's another great guy. Jim Dandy and Ricky Reynolds, beautiful people. But I couldn't go on. I just couldn't go on like that. You know, I mean, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're a pirate. Here's your bottle of Jack Daniels. No, that's not working, man. Anyway, I got so many stories. I might have confused some of the dates, but go ahead.
No, you know, I'm enjoying all these stories, and we have all the time in the world, so I'm just sitting back and listening and enjoying everything. All right. Are they still together, Black Oak, Arkansas?
Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I went and saw them. They opened up for Molly Hatchet and the Outlaws at the Oakdale here in town. I went to see them. We hung out, reminisced a little bit. Interesting to see them still plugging away, you know.
I mentioned in the intro all the different bands that you open up for: Aerosmith, ZZ Top. One person I want to ask you about, because he is so polarizing, but he makes such great music, is Ted Nugent. What was it like? Did you get a chance to hang out with him? Or
I got to tell you, we did a lot of big shows with Ted Nugent and Aerosmith, right? Yeah. With Johnny. And I remember being in Lorelei or Dusseldorf, maybe one of those big cities in Germany. We were doing the stadium, like 50, 60,000 people thing. And it was I don't know, at 10 o'clock, and we were getting ready to do our set. And Ted Nugent came in and said, "There's no way I'm gonna close the show after Johnny Winter in Germany." He said, "You guys have to headline." That was an interesting night. And so we headlined. We went on at 2:30 in the morning, and 60,000 people, not one left. And after all these heavy metal bands, I don't know why we're Gillian, Saxon, Judas Priest. I think Molly Hatchet and Ted Nugent were the only two other American bands. And then we came out and the people were just blown away, you know. I remember Johnny saying to me, "You're going to get your dream tonight, Bobby." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, after all these rock bands, we're going to have to do mostly rock and roll tonight," because I like playing rock a little bit better than blues back then. Yeah. Poor Johnny, being the blues icon that he is, people just, I mean, he taught me one thing. He goes, having a big rock band and big hits is great, Bobby, but you have to keep having the hits. If I keep my blues audience, I'll be able to play the rest of my life. And he was right. I mean, he was dead right about it. And he had this audience until he passed away.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty interesting.
I'm surprised though about Ted Nugent, because you hear so many different things about how egotistical he is, that he actually said, "There's no way I'm opening up. I mean, I'm headlining this."
Well, he's egotistical until he realizes the reality. I mean, the reality is you're Johnny Winter, you're the ultimate Aryan in Germany, and they just love the blues more than they really like them. Even though we're at a rock festival, those people in Europe love the blues, you know, the American music, you know, and Johnny was the epitome of that. And so he was always a big rock star over there, star, put it that way, not just a rock star. He was a big, and so it worked out well. But yeah, Ted Nugent, very egotistical, but not a bad guy, you know.
Did you ever have a chance to go hunting with him?
No, I don't hunt. I can't. I have a hard time eating anything with eyes, you know. When I first got in Michael Bolton's band, I was Bolton back at the time, and I was having a hamburger, and two of the guys in the band go, "Mommy, mommy." In other words, I'm biting into an animal. And I said, "Well, why? I'm being on the road." They go, "We'll teach you different ways to eat." So they did. I actually learned how to eat like pretty much a vegetarian, and I haven't touched a stitch of red meat since 1977.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that.
No, thanks. I still cheat a little bit. Like the other night, I had some stir-fried shrimp, and I have a little bit of chicken every now and then, as long as it's white meat and I don't see it being cooked from the get-go. But I try to cut back, and probably one of the reasons I'm still healthy, you know.
Yep. Let's talk about your affiliation with the WFL3 drums.
Billy Ludwig. I love this. I am the ambassador to this company. It's the new Bill Ludwig III's drum company. They sold, him and his dad sold the Ludwig company to Selmer back in 1982, I think. And I had just gotten signed to Ludwig drums back then. Well, two of my goals in life, one was to play with Johnny Winter, the other was to be endorsed by Ludwig drums. By the time I was 27, I did them both. I was very confused. So I said, "Oh, what do I do now? I accomplished everything everywhere. You got to keep thinking about raising the bar." Anyway, Bill and I became great friends back then, and we always kept in touch. And then finally, he started this new company, like 20 years after he had sold the old company. And he didn't like working for Selmer. He was working for somebody instead of, even though it was Ludwig drums, he was still working for them. So he left that, and he did different things, and he tried opening a restaurant in Maui, and, you know, he did a bunch of different things. And finally, he had this new company, and he was here in Connecticut. And I said, "I'm going to take one of your new drums, Bill. I'm going to buy one, you know, support your business." And we started talking, and I said, "You know, I'm going to come out and I'm going to help you. I don't want any money. I'll come to the drum shows and just give you a hand." Well, one thing led to another. He got an investor, and the investor and I became good friends also. And the investor decided Bobby's going to be our ambassador, which I love it. I mean, who would think I'm the ambassador? So it's very cool. I am the legal ambassador to WFL3 drums. And if we didn't have this pandemic, I'd be bouncing around to every drum show there is in the country as the ambassador. And I'll play drums for them. I do some in stores, and I traveled the whole country with Bill in the past 4 years. It's been fantastic.
Well, you've done so much. You played pretty much. I mean, your resume is a who's who list. But in 2017, you received a permanent place in the Classic Drummer Hall of Fame. And that year, you were definitely in good company. You had Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses also inducted, Papa Joe Jones from the Count Basie Orchestra, and Carter Beauford from the Dave Matthews Band, and you all joined such legends as
Kenny Arnoff is in there with me that same year. Tommy Aldridge is in there. Did you mention that? Vinny Appice. There's 10 people that I'm like, I can't believe I'm in this thing with these guys. It's just fantastic. Yeah.
And the former guest of the Claw's Corner, Carmine Appice, is also in there.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's in it before. There's like 50. There's like Buddy Rich is in there.
John Bonham, Keith Moon.
Yeah, I mean, forget it. That's like, yeah. I mean, what a milestone. I'm just so proud of that. I can almost cry thinking about it. Yeah. I'm so honored, man. It's such a blessing.
Well, you should be, because I mean that's a huge accomplishment for somebody that never had a lesson in his life, and where you are now and everything you've been through. That is, congratulations, like I say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I also just recently got put into the New England Hall of Fame, which we were going to have a big ceremony, but the COVID thing stopped all that. So they have I guess they made like trophies for us or something, but. Christine Allman is in that with Jimmy Bell. If you ever heard of Jimmy Bell, the guitar player, he's now with Autograph. So Jimmy and I are going to get inducted together. Christine and her guitar player, Cliff, that used to play with Joe Cocker, and who's it? Shabu. People that own the Shabu. Oh God, man. Oh, he's going to get mad at me because I'm forgetting his name right now. But at any rate, those three got inducted, and now it's going to be, I think me and Jimmy are going to have our own induction, because they were going to do the whole thing at once, but because of the old disease, everything's a mess. So they did those three. I think we're next up, and I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I will let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as soon as you let me know, I will let my fans know. Is it going to be an event? Hopefully, we're not sure. I know because of COVID, where people can actually go there and see.
That's what I don't know. They did that for Christine. They played Lefty. Lefty's the guy's name, and I forgot his last name. They own the Shabu. Anyhow, I'll think of his last name in a few minutes. I don't know whether we're going to be playing. I don't know. At first we were all going to play together. This came in a year ago.
Yeah.
And then when the old green disease hit, everything got put off until whenever. So she did hers like a week or two ago. They did an outdoor show. I don't know exactly when. We're supposed to be up next. So I know it's me and Jimmy together. So I don't know exactly where it's going to be or what's going to happen.
Well, I know Jimmy also has an interesting experience with Ozzy too, when he tried out for Ozzy.
Oh, yeah. When I auditioned for Ozzy, I was with Sandy Gennaro, where there was like 50 guys in line, and Sandy knew Sharon Osbourne from touring, I guess, with Pat Travers, and we went up to the front of the line. We went right in. We were in I was living in LA at the time, another in between Michael Bolton and trying to get gigs. Anyway. We go in, I sat down, and I got a couple of tattoos, and Ozzy looks over at me. He goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Bobby." He goes, "Already like you." I said, "Why?" He goes, "You've got tattoos." And then he said, I'm sitting on the cooler. And he said to me, "Would you hand me a beer, Bobby?" I said the wrong thing. I said, "Ozzy, didn't you just get out of Betty Ford?" He goes, "That's right. I'm out. Hand me the fucking beer." I said, "All right, here you go, man." Anyway, I didn't get that gig, but Jakey Lee had said, "You're a good drummer," and he told my friend Sandy, "You're a great drummer." Good. But they knew who they were going to pick, with Randy Castillo. So, yeah. But it was an interesting audition. Yep. Very interesting.
I've heard interviews, and I've actually spoken with people that know Sharon Osbourne. And they said she is a force to be reckoned with. You don't want to mess with her. No. I've heard plenty of. You don't have to trash her or anything. I'm just saying. I know that I've heard plenty of stories. Where my former guest Carmine Appice had some experiences with her.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I don't have to trash her. She, it precedes her. So it is what it is. She knows what. I mean, her dad was a big guy, a big shot in the music business, and she just knew how to take the ball and run with it. You just trample people. If you got the commodity that they want, which is Ozzy, you can do whatever you want to anybody else. That's just this business. I've got want to see the scars from all the knives in my back? Oh, Bobby, yeah, we're going to take. I remember saying to somebody, "Where's my money?" They go, "Gee, man, you look great tonight. How you doing? That girl you're with's pretty." I mean, please, don't tell me it's raining while you're pissing on my shoes, and I've heard it so many times. And but what are you gonna do? This is what I do, and I still love it.
For my viewers, her father was Don Arden, who was the manager of Black Sabbath.
Oh, there you go. I knew he was somebody important. And there you go. Oh, you know your stuff. Yeah, good for you, man.
Thank you.
All right, Richie. All right, what else do we have?
We're almost done, but I want to talk to you about the last time I saw you, which was during the pandemic, of course. And I like how people are getting creative now. Unfortunately, in Connecticut, as we're recording this, it's getting colder. But you had an outdoor show at a farm with a friend of mine, Sal, mutual friend of ours. He did some guest vocals on there when you were playing. It was a great show, fun time, socially distanced. So I'm glad that you're able to play out a little bit. It was called the Bobby T All-Stars. You mentioned that earlier. Yeah. So hopefully you have some more shows like that before it gets really cold.
I want to mention Sal Annunziato, one of the greatest people in the world, my yoga instructor and my mentor in a lot of ways. And
there's another connection with your yoga instructor, Sal, and a former guest and a friend of mine, Christian Opus Lawrence.
Oh yeah, we did some yoga the other day. We were at the ballpark. Yeah.
I told him I was going to be interviewing you.
Great drummer, great guy.
Yeah. Well, I told him I was going to be interviewing you. He goes, "Oh, definitely tell Bobby I said hi."
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So we're almost at the end of it. So I know we talked about a lot of different things. We probably left some out. So that's why we have to have a part 2 with Bobby T Torello in the Claw's Corner. What's next, and where can people find you?
Well, they can find me, of course, on Facebook, Bobby T's All-Stars, or just Bobby T Torello. And next is the new album coming out. There's a new album that came out with the Name Droppers. The Ryan Newman album's coming out. And I'm working on a lot of my own new songs that'll be coming out also. There's got to be something I'm leaving out. I am doing some songs with Sal. He's working on a new record. Let's see, there's got to be more stuff in there. Something I did with Lucinda and Michael, and I haven't heard it yet. So you could yell at them for me. And
Lucinda and Mick, if you're watching this, I want to hear some Bobby T songs.
Yes. Well, they only had me do one song, then they kicked me out. I guess I'm a little too much. But it was great. And that their new studio, congratulations, it's fantastic. And I want to thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure meeting you the other night, and I hope to see you again soon. Want to do part 2? There's a lot of stuff I left out, but you're spanning 50 years of music. Yeah. Well,
coming soon to the Claw's Corner, Bobby T Torello, part 2.
Thank you very much, my man. You have a great day, and God bless.
God bless you too. That wraps up another episode of the Claw's Corner, the Zoom edition. I would like to thank my guest, the hilarious and extremely talented drum extraordinaire, Bobby T Torello. I would also like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.